My name is Sean, and I currently run the Digital Lounge here. And today I'm going to be going through an introduction to WordPress and what it is, and then taking you through some stuff that you can do in WordPress so that you can start getting some content published to the web. Hi. Just so everyone knows, I am recording this workshop so that I can post online later. So if you ever want to reference back to it or tell your friends who missed it or something like that, they can do that as well. So yeah, first thing is, what is WordPress? WordPress is called a web content management system, which basically is a way that you can create content to publish on the web without needing to do any coding, which makes it a lot easier if you don't know how to code, obviously. It was originally just created to publish like personal blogs and some business blogs, but it's really encompassing a lot more on the web now. More traditional websites, there's e-commerce stuff, media galleries, and in fact, around 43% of the internet is built on WordPress, including some big brands that you may end up working for someday, like Time Magazine, Variety, the White House website, all on WordPress. So it's a pretty cool tool to know. Just some kind of terminology you might hear me throw out here and there. I'll try to explain it as it comes along, but WordPress is a content management system. It's creating websites, managing those websites without doing any coding. A domain name is the URL that you will enter into the browser bar to access a website. So google.com, annenbergdl.org, all of those are domain names. Hosting is a service that you pay for that will allow you to put your content on the web. The web is not fully free all the time. If it is, it comes with a lot of caveats. And you have to pay to have like a spot on the web. And then your domain name links to that spot that you're putting all your data in. An IP address, you may have heard this here and there. It's a string of numbers that represent a device. So this could be your computer, it could be a website. When you're wanting to do a custom domain name, you'll need to figure out the IP address of your website so that you can tell it to go to that IP address where all your stuff is posted. And then there's an SSL certificate. This is just basically a way that certifies that your content on the web is secure, it's encrypted. You'll see in the URL be HTTPS. If you ever see that, it just means that they have an active SSL certificate. It means that you don't have to bypass those warnings where it says this website might not be secure and you have to go through. The certificate just lets you go through. We say WordPress, and there's really two different versions of WordPress. There's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Sounds super familiar, super similar. WordPress.com is still in that kind of free blogging kind of platform, where WordPress.org is the more paid hosting version of it. WordPress.org is actually a software that when you are purchasing hosting, you might get like a WordPress installation, you download the software, install it on the server, and then you can manage it all from there. WordPress.com, you can start for free, you can pay for extras if you want, but if you want to, it's all free. And WordPress.com will do all the hosting and all that stuff for you. Biggest like differences, if you're gonna go the WordPress hosting route, there's going to be more flexibility in what you can do because you're paying for it as well. You can do a lot more advanced stuff, where WordPress.com, especially the free version, has a lot of limitations. For example, you can only have 1 gigabyte of data on your website, which is not a ton these days, especially if you want to upload photos and videos, especially. You can only use a custom domain name if you're going to use a paid plan. So if you're going to do the free version and you sign up under Annenberg Digital Lounge, your domain name will be annenbergdigitallounge.wordpress.com. Can't really change it. It is hosted by WordPress as well, so that means you don't have to do a lot of that like backend management of stuff and installing WordPress on the server and making sure that you're paying attention to how many users are visiting and stuff like that. We'll get more into these a little bit later, but WordPress offers plugins and themes. Plugins add additional functionality to WordPress that doesn't come right out of the box. You can only use plugins on WordPress.com sites if you are using a paid plan. And then themes are how it's like a framework for how your content will be displayed. When you're writing your page or your post, it's going to look a lot like a Microsoft Word or a Google Docs, but then a theme applies a bunch of styling rules to it so that when you visit the website, it actually looks a little bit better than just a Word document. You get a lot of limited themes in the free version of WordPress.com and not a lot of customization options. The more you pay, the more you get to do. The hosted part of it, a lot of it depends on the hosting provider, what they offer, but you can always connect a custom domain name. You get full access to plugins and themes and stuff like that. There's a bunch of other plugin and theme developers who will sometimes say, you'll get the free version and you can pay us more for more functionality, but there is a bunch more available to you with a paid plan. Cool. Any questions before we kind of get started actually building out a site and all that? I'll show you how to like create a WordPress.com account if you don't have one. Yeah. If the table is not plugged into the outlet on the floor, it won't be charging. Like this one up here is plugged in. The one back there looks like it's plugged in. You have to look to the floor to see if it's plugged into the outlet in the floor. Okay. So if you do not already have a WordPress account and you wanted to start one for free to follow along, go to wordpress.com and you'll click this Get Started button right here. And it will prompt you for an email, your username and password. You can create an account and get started with the website for free. I won't go through it because I have a bunch of stuff already created with WordPress, but if you just want something for free, play around with it, just know you'll have some limited options and stuff like that. If you already have a like hosted site through some Annenberg classes like Journalism 414 and PR 524, they'll get like hosted websites. To access that, you'll want to enter in the domain name for your site. So if my site was this John also 2.annenberghosting.com, you'll do /wp-admin. And this is the login page for if you have a hosted WordPress site. If you're going to do WordPress.com, you just sign in on WordPress.com and you'll see the thing that's saying your sites and get started. Cool. Are we all in WordPress in some capacity or cool just following along? Cool. So I'm already logged into my WordPress. This is a pretty typical way that the dashboard will look like. When you first log into WordPress, you get this dashboard that has some things that are helpful in some scenarios. I normally skip most of it because I'm not using it for things that are really applicable to me. If you're going to be creating something like a blog or something that you need to monitor comments, you can see comments here as well. So if you need to respond to them and stuff like that, If you're working for a company, they may have some more widgets in here that show like a dashboard of like data and stuff that you might have to look at time and time again. If you want to customize what you see in this dashboard, you just click the screen options, and then you can select these columns. I am using a hosted WordPress site, so if you're using WordPress.com, it's going to look a little different. But if you get a little lost, just let me know. Cool. So the very first thing that you probably want to do with a website is get some content out there. And WordPress allows you to do kind of two types of content. There's this posts and these pages. They're very similar, and they allow you to do a lot of similar things. The main difference is that posts are designed to be things that are going to be displayed maybe in a chronological order or in categories that you want to like view those in a different way. So these are things like blog posts. If you're going to be posting a lot of like news updates and stuff like that, you probably want to go the post route. Pages, on the other hand, are meant to be a little bit more static. So this is if you're going to have like a privacy policy page, or if you're going to have an about me page or about this company page, is likely going to be the page. You can always update pages as much as you want, but the main difference is you can't categorize it. So you can assign a category to it and then access those pages through a certain category link. And we'll explore categories in a little bit. So let's just do posts. If you click on posts right here, you'll see all of the posts that I've published on here as an example. You can also hover over it and click add new, or if you're on this page already, you can click add new right here. So this is what this little page and post editor looks like. I get this extra layout settings thing for some reason, and looks pretty basic. Looks like nothing much, but there's actually kind of some cool things you can do here. Add title, you can simply add title, test post for now. And then WordPress uses what is called blocks to add different types of content. So you can add blocks by a couple different ways. If you know the name of the block, you can do this backslash and then start typing what the block is. So I could do paragraph, or I guess paragraph isn't one. I don't know, remember what it's called. But you see I can look up different ones there. If you just want to do text, you can just start typing and it'll automatically make it a paragraph. You can also click on this blue plus button up here or this black plus button in line. So I'm going to click this one right here and then click browse all, because I just want to give you a sense of like all of the different things that WordPress allows you to add. There's some pretty standard stuff like paragraphs and headings and images. You can add audio. As you scroll down, there's going to be some more kind of interesting things. You can add a calendar widget. There's social icons. If you want to display your social media stuff, they can click the Twitter one and it'll take you to Twitter or X now, I guess. You can add a code in here somewhere. That's an option if you want to add code snippets, if you're writing about code. You can embed stuff as well. So if there's something on Vimeo that you saw and you're like, this is really applicable to what I'm doing, I can click this Vimeo one, enter that Vimeo link to embed, and that video will be right there. Cool. So let's just add a couple blocks. You can play around with which ones you're going to do or follow what I'm going to do. I'm going to just do like an intro paragraph, maybe add an image, add some headings, kind of make a fake post for now, just so we can have some content to play around with. Okay, so I've added a couple just small little things. Um, Added that title, some text, this image. But you'll notice it doesn't look very great in this editor. And if I go to this button right here, if you hover over it, it looks like it says preview and it's to the left of publish. And I click preview in a new tab. Yours will look different because I have a theme applied. But this is not looking like a really great thing. This image is so big, it's probably not super helpful. Um, so I'm going to show you how to access additional settings that you can do for these different blocks. So I'm going to select my image block. And then over here, to the right of the publish, there's a settings thing. It's a square with a line through the right side of it. And there's two types of settings that you can do. The post ones are stuff for the entire post that will apply to the post as a document, where block is the one specific to the thing that I selected. So in this case, it's the image. I can see that they tell me that right here. So some things that you can change. This theme allows you to change the styling. I can get a preview if I want it to be rounded or default. This alternative text is a really nice field for accessibility reasons. If there's someone with low or no vision trying to view your site, this alternative text will be read by their screen reader. So if your image has something that is important for those people to know as well as they're going through, you can put it in here. If it's something that is just a design thing that doesn't really matter for the grand scheme of the post, you don't have to put anything here if it's not relevant. I can change the aspect ratio if I want something specific, or the height and the width of the image itself, and then the resolution too, if I just want some more generic groupings. Under advanced, there's a couple things as well. We'll not use a ton of these unless if you're getting like really in the weeds of WordPress. Basically, the ones that you would do is this HTML anchor. If you're going to link to this specific part of the page from somewhere else, you'll do that here. And then if you want to do additional custom styling with CSS, you can add the classes in here. I'll be teaching a web coding series later this semester that goes through HTML and CSS if you are interested. And you'll learn more about CSS there, what a class is and stuff like that. Over here on the post ones, under this summary, there's a couple of different things. The visibility, you can see if you want it to be public or private. If it's really sensitive stuff that you only want to share with a certain group of people, you can password protect it as well. So only people with that password is able to view the content. Publish, if you click where it says immediately, you can change the publishing to be scheduled. So if you are going to be posting a lot of blog posts and you're doing really good one day and you're writing them all and you don't want them to be published at the same time, you can schedule them for the future. And then the URL will show you what that URL to access that post will be. If you want to do a thing where like you have an editor who needs to review the post before they're published, you can click this pending review. You can also change the post format or change the author if there's multiple different users on an account and maybe you're like ghostwriting for someone or something, you can change who it says is the author. And then we get to these categories and tags. Similar to posts and pages, they are very similar. Categories are only for posts, while tags are for both posts and pages. Categories are things that you can assign to each post to group them in a better way. So I'm writing this one on WordPress. I have this WordPress category, so I might want to assign it to the WordPress category. That way, instead of putting like every WordPress post in a menu, I can just put the WordPress category there. And when someone clicks on WordPress, it would show all of the posts that I have categorized as WordPress. It's a little bit easier to manage and organize. You can click add new category to add it here. And if you want to do stuff like a parent-child category situation as well, you can do that. And you can assign as many categories as you want to any post. A tag is also something very similar. Kind of way to think about tags is what are people going to be searching for this content? This allows you to kind of mark in the metadata of, that Google is going to search through your tags and be like, oh, if someone's saying like getting started with WordPress and this tag says getting started with WordPress, my blog post might rank higher than someone else's who doesn't have that tag. Featured image right here. This is if you have a theme that supports it, where there's like a header image, or if you're putting all the posts in like a home page and you want there to be an image that shows with the title, that's what this is right here, this featured image. I'll put something in here just so we can see it in the thing. We'll do WordPress menus, I guess. And then there's excerpt, very similar situation where if you want there to be the title of the post and then a little description of what you'll find in it, you put that in the excerpt right here. So I might say like, check out our new intro to WordPress workshop or something like that. And in the discussion, you can toggle whether or not you want to allow comments, disallow pingbacks and trackbacks. I have never changed because I don't use it. So if I'm ready to publish this, I can click publish right here. And it's now published and available on the web. That does not mean that you can't edit it anymore. You see that it didn't take me away from it. I can change stuff here. I can say, oh, maybe I want to change this from a heading 2 to a heading 4. And then I have to click update in order for that update to be published again. WordPress is not as nice as like Google Docs where it automatically saves your document after a while. You do have to click publish and update every time you make a change. You may have noticed when I click on a block, I get this toolbar as well. These are just some additional options that you can do to change the styling and whatnot. So for text, it's like if I want to make it bold, alignment, if I want to change something into a link, there's this link button. Same with image stuff. There's like you can apply filters and you can change the image into a link. So if you want them to click on the image to go somewhere, you can do that. Cool. How are we doing? Any questions?
Could you explain the categories?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I've seen example like at the end of the WordPress, it'll say if you like see more categories like love, health. So
yeah,
how does like a viewer see those categories?
Yeah, let me show you. So I'm back here on my test post. And how the viewer sees a category is a little bit dependent on your theme. So if I'm on this post, I'll see that I have these uncategorized and WordPress categories right here. There is this featured image that I mentioned before, but also I put it in that WordPress one, and then and I'll show you how to do this. You can put the category in the menu. So I might click this HTML, CSS one. I see category, HTML, CSS, and I see everything that I marked as HTML and CSS right here. So it's a little bit dependent on your theme. It's dependent on if you put the category in a menu. And then with them, will also, like in the more tutorials, they generally tend to prioritize the ones in the same category. Cool. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Cool. So let's go back to our dashboard. When you uploaded an image, if you did that, or if you saw me upload an image, it goes into this media library right here. So under media library, it'll be all of the stuff that I've uploaded right here. So it's easier if you're going to use the same image multiple times throughout your site. Stick it in the media library. It's a lot easier to access than trying to upload it one by one for each post. And also another thing that I somewhat skipped over, so sorry about that, is you can click on the name up here and it'll toggle between the back end of the site. So the stuff that you can do to edit it and maintain it, or the published version, so that you can go and see what visitors to your site are going to see. The only reason why you will see this is because you have an account logged in to this browser. If I was visiting your site and I don't have a WordPress account that has access to that site, I don't see this bar. So don't worry if you're like, oh, I don't want that there. It doesn't show up for anyone but you. Cool. So WordPress, as I mentioned, is built on what's called themes. Themes are a styling framework that is applied to your content to display it in a certain way, shape, or form. If you're using a free WordPress.com site, very limited theme control, very limited theme options. The more you pay, the more access you get to stuff. So you can see that under appearance, and you go to themes, and you'll first see the themes that you have installed on your WordPress. But you can always add new ones. So you can click add new theme here, or this add new button up by the themes page title. Again, the amount that you're going to see is dependent on what kind of WordPress site you have. I see almost 6,000 themes that I have to choose from. An important thing about themes, they will not delete your content. So if you built out a bunch of pages and posts and you want to switch themes and play around with how your content looks on different themes, go ahead. None of your content will be lost. So if I find one that say I kind of like, this one looks sleek, I guess. They'll give you a live preview of what this, like a sample site of what it looks like. And then you can click install. And this will download the theme files to your WordPress. To change your WordPress site to use this theme, you have to click activate. You can have as many themes installed as you want. They do take up a little bit of space. So generally, if you know I'm never going to use this 2022 theme, you can go ahead and click on it and then click delete to make sure that you're not using up storage for something that you're never going to use. And you can always reinstall it and reactivate it if you get rid of it. So now if I go back to my site, you'll see that it looks a little bit different than it did before. That's because that theme is now applying its styling rules to my content. So I can go, you see that the category pages look a little bit different as well. Generally, my recommendation, build out your pages, your posts, have some sort of content before you start exploring with themes, because you'll want to see how your content looks in each theme in order for you to pick the right one. Some themes, like this one, will add this little button on the side, and you can click there to see like your customization options and stuff like that. I can see that there's custom layouts. Apparently it's locked behind a pro version. They'll tell you what you get if you pay more for them, stuff like that. You can go to this customize menu. A theme customize, you can also get there from appearance customize, or this theme also has a customize button. This is where you can make edits to that theme. How much edits you can make is dependent on the theme that you choose. Some are very open and willing to let you play around with it as much as you want. Some are kind of like, we want our themes to look like this, and they give you very limited options. You can always click through these different categories to see what are the things that you can change. Some big ones that a lot of people like to look for are like a colors one, so that they can change the coloring of stuff. Menus we'll get to in a little bit. Menus are usually used in websites if you're having more than one page of content. There'll be one also that is not in here, called site identity. And that's where you can kind of change things like this logo that appears in the browser tab bar. You could change the title that shows in the tab when someone goes to your site, stuff like that. This is also a place that you can do additional CSS. Additional CSS is only available if you have a hosted WordPress site, or if you're using a business plan on WordPress.com or higher, I think. So if you're using a free one and you try to access it, it's going to say upgrade and pay us more money. But if I really wanted to add some different CSS stuff, I can try doing that. If I wanted to change all of my text to blue for whatever reason, you can always add that custom code if you're using one of those paid ones. If you ever make changes in this customize window, always make sure to publish them, just like we did with the pages and posts. Because if you don't, it will not actually save and show up. If you were to make a change, let's say I change this and I see that it's active and I try to exit out, it usually will give you that warning that says, hey, if you navigate away, the changes that you made won't be saved. Cool. And then let's go through some menu stuff. Menus are one of the like foundation stuff of websites. You saw one in my one. There's the menu right here, so you can access other things. The things that you want to know about menus is you go to appearance and menus. If you're using a theme like that 2022 one that I mentioned before, or other ones, and you hover over appearance and it says editor, that uses a different editing style called full site editing. I'll go through that one in a little bit, but this is the classic like WordPress editing. So this one is pretty easy. You can create a new menu by using this create a new menu button up here. And I'll name this test menu. This name does not show up anywhere. So you can name it whatever you want. Probably safe to just name it something applicable to what you're actually doing. There's some settings that you can do. There's this automatically adding new pages to the menu. If you want to just make your life easier and I want everything that I post to go into this menu, you can click it. I normally leave it off so that I can customize the order of things and stuff like that. And then there's the display location. These depend on your theme as well, but there's a primary menu, usually at the top, a footer menu, usually at the bottom, and a secondary menu is kind of dependent on your theme, really. So I'll change it to primary menu, just so we can see where it goes. And I'll click create menu. So now that I have my menu created, on this left side, there's these add menu items. And I can go through my pages and my posts. there's some custom links, and also those categories for the posts. And this is how you actually add the content to your menu. So I want to add my tutorials one, and I'll click add to menu. Maybe I want to add our about page. And let's say I'm going to do this one. So they're over here now, which is really nice. You can just drag and drop them somewhere to rearrange the order that they appear. If you want something to appear underneath something else, you just have to drag it below it and then go a little bit to the right. And you'll see that there's this kind of tab space. So that means that now when I hover over tutorials, I'll see my easy breezy, beautiful CSS gradients tutorial. You can also expand any of these if you want there to be a custom label. So if, let's say, I'm like, this is so long for something in a menu, I could just change this to CSS gradients so that it's a shorter title that you see in the menu, but the actual post title is still the same. I'm going to save it. That's also how you can delete things from your thing, is if you expand it and you click remove. So now if I go to my site, I see my menu's up there because I had saved my menu. Again, with WordPress, save everything as many times as you can, just in case if something happens, you don't want to lose all the hard work that you're doing. Cool. Any questions about themes? Yeah.
I don't have any options.
Yeah, so let me show you a different one. Does your appearance menu look like this, where it says editor? No. Interesting. Yes. Yes. Okay, I'll show you how to do this full site editing now. This is a new way that WordPress introduced pretty recently. It just recently got out of beta. So a lot of the new themes that are being published with it are using this editor instead of that customized one. This one is a little bit different. And by a little bit, I actually mean a lot. So you'll see a preview of your site over here. And in order to change things, you need to start clicking in through here. So if I'm trying to do it and they're giving me this warning, you have to edit a template. Okay, thank you. And if I click through, I see that there's this menu right here already. I can start clicking through. I can edit the menu. How you do it, it's a little bit harder, but you can use those same toolbar stuff to do stuff. So I've highlighted this contact one. This is the drag button. So I can drag it and move it somewhere like there. That's how you change it. The plus button is adding a block, so I can add a link. The nice thing about this one is it will show you your stuff already in this search bar. So if I were to search for that like CSS gradients one, I can find it right here, and all I have to do is click the plus button. If you want to change the title, you click the link icon, the pencil icon then, and then there's the text field where you can do it. This editor takes a little bit getting used to because you have to click through several times to get to the actual element you want. It is built on what are called templates. So if I click on my logo over here and I go under templates, I'll see all of these different options right here. So this is pages. We have one for single posts and stuff like that. When you apply any of the changes in like this, I click the single post template, it's going to apply to all of my posts. I have seen several students get into the thing where they write their entire project on a template. And so every time they create a new post and they try to go to that post, whatever they put in this template overrides the other work that they do. So if you're going to write a post or a page that you want to publish, write it in that posts and pages stuff first before you explore with this. Because there's no way that you can take the template and move it to a post or a page. You'd have to rewrite the whole thing. Cool. There's also template parts. If I go back here, do they call it patterns now? It looks like it. So you can go here and you can select different ones, maybe. Okay, maybe. Yeah, template parts are in patterns. They're all locked for some reason for me. Oh, maybe that's broken. Okay, maybe avoid patterns for now. Under navigation here is where you do those menus if you want to not click through. Whenever you're here, you just got to keep clicking your site logo and go to navigations and click header navigation, and you can see them right here. If you click edit, it gives you just that thing, so you don't have to worry about seeing the rest of the page. Another thing that I find very useful when working with this sort of editor is over on this part of the toolbar, there's this list view button. It looks like 3 lines that are staggered out a little bit. And this gives you like an outline of your entire piece of content so that you can see and click through and target the thing that you want to change. You can also reorder them here if you don't want to have to try to do that over here. But this makes it a little bit easier to go through the stuff like these navigation menus and such. Cool. Any more questions on this style of editing?
Explain how to do the subheadings under the style.
Yeah. That's going to be best in the list view, I have found. So if I were to try to click on this menu, it's telling me edit my template. I'm just going to click that to get to it. With this selected, I'll go to list view, and you'll see that I have this navigation section, and then I see page list, about, stuff. What I can do here is I can do that same drag and move and make this a tab underneath that. Cool. Any other questions? How are you feeling? I know I've been talking a lot about some pretty technical stuff. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna save this for now. And we'll move back to the next part, which is this plugins. I mentioned plugins a little bit before. Plugins are additional functionality you can add to WordPress. So WordPress comes pretty standard. It's as streamlined as something like this can be, but plugins allow you to do additional things without having to, manually do a lot or like do that coding part. So if I click add new, I'll see some featured ones, and then I can find popular plugins and stuff like that. Some ones that I see students use a lot, this Elementor website builder is a still pretty new way to also further customize how your site is styled. it's a little complicated and it looks really flashy. So if I click here, they'll show you some like sites and you're like, oh, that looks so beautiful. Like, I love that. What Elementor does is it creates an additional layer on top of WordPress. So when you're editing an Elementor, it tries to connect to the right setting in WordPress itself. So if you're doing something in Elementor and you're like, oh, it looks great, and then you like view your WordPress site and it's not working, it could be a problem with the Elementor theme or something like this. It's still pretty new, so it's not the most documented thing yet. This Yoast SEO plugin is also really highly used. SEO stands for search engine optimization, which is stuff that you can do to make your website rank higher in search engines. So if you are working for a company and you're trying to write a lot of material and market this brand, you're going to want to make sure that it's SEO optimized to make sure that when people are searching for, you know, new water bottles that stay cold for X amount of hours, that the company that you're trying to promote gets a little bit higher. So this is a really popular one. Let's see what else. SiteKit by Google is also a really popular one because it comes with Google Analytics involved. So if you want to install Google Analytics on your site to track like what pages users are seeing the most, your website traffic over time, stuff like that, this is a good plugin for you. Plugins, just as a reminder, you need to have a paid plan or a hosted plan to use these, unfortunately. Those are the most popular ones I see students using the most. Any questions about plugins? They all work a little bit differently in terms of like how to configure them and make settings for them because they're all built by different developers. And so I could go through a couple, but they'd all be different kind of thing. Cool. Users tab. This is if you're going to be the WordPress administrator for a site and, you know, you're trying to start a blogging platform for all of your friends and you want them to post blogs and stuff. You can add them as users here. It creates accounts for them. They can still log in and do stuff. If I were to add a new user, you can see that there's this role section. There's a couple different roles that you can do that will limit the amount of stuff that someone can do. So if you were like, I just want to be the administrator, I want to be in control of everything, and my friends, I just want them to submit content for me, I put them at this like author or contributor level so that they don't have some of the more admin rights. Cool. Tools is there's a couple nice ones. The ones that you're going to use the most are these import export ones. So WordPress offers a really nice way that you can export all of your site content and then import it into another one. So if you ever take the like journalism 414 class or PR 524 and you like build out your whole website and you're like, this looks awesome, but you know, like after graduation, it's like an Annenberg specific site and you want to move all your content to a personal site that you can manage going forward, you can export your WordPress content. We'll download the export file. You'll start a new WordPress account somewhere else, and then you can import it here so that all of your content is ported over and you don't have to redo a lot of your work. Some things that might change in the export, though, is your links may break. It depends on your domain name that you're using. When you create those links in the menu and stuff, it'll link to like, mine would be like seanolso.annenberghosting.com/ CSS gradients for that one tutorial. And if I were to change it to like seanolson.com, that link would break because it's referring to this site instead of the site that I want it to do. Your theme might also, you might have to reinstall a theme, do all those customization stuff. You can see in here, you can do your post pages and media. Your navigation menus will port over, but the links might break, is the kind of caveat. Cool. And then we got some settings here. You can change the site title. This is what will show up here in this tab bar. You can change the URL here, but it does you will want to have like the domain name purchased and stuff, because it gets a little funky when you do it here. So I'd recommend not using this actually. Let's see. You can change the date format. When posts are put out, some themes will say the date and the time that it was published. And you can change the way that that actually looks here. Under writing, you can change that default post category. If you know you're going to be writing a lot of news and you have a news category, you can do that right here. Reading is one that you'll probably encounter and want to look at, because it will change your homepage. So right now I have a static page set, which is this Annenberg Digital Lounge site, which if I go here, that's this page right here. If I go back to settings reading, I can change that homepage to a different one of those pages that I selected. If you're not seeing your page show up in here, make sure it's published. It has to be published before you can make it your homepage. Or you can change it to your latest posts. You don't have control over which post it would be, but it will show your posts in reverse chronological order. So the most recent to the least recent. And then you can specify how many blog posts should show on your homepage. You can also change, if you want, discouraging search engines from indexing the site. That basically means like, hey, Google, please don't put my site in your search index thing so that it doesn't float as high to the top as it can. Most people don't do this, but if you have like a sensitive website or something that is really tied to you and you don't want people to like find it for whatever reason, one, I would say don't put it on the web, but two, this might be a way to at least mitigate a little bit of that. The discussion is also if you want to change things about like comments and stuff like that. Most of the time I just turn comments off on a site because you'll get a lot of spam. It's on the web. So you can change those thumbnail sizes, the medium and the large sizes. If you remember when I clicked on that WordPress logo in the post, it gave me those options of thumbnail, medium, large. Here's where you can change the actual specific sizes for each of those kind of generic categories. Permalinks, this is a way that you can change what your links show in that URL, specifically the posts. It'll probably be set to plain, which will do your site name slash a question mark and then P equals and then a number. Not super helpful. You can change it to post name and then make sure that this available tag of percent post name percent is selected. And then that way, when I go to my contact page, it just says contact here instead of, P equals whatever. Cool. And then privacy settings, you can create a privacy policy page if that is something that your company is asking for. If it's a personal website, you likely won't have one of these or need one of these, but you can create a new one if you need here. Cool. So we just ran through this entire menu and all the options available. Does anyone have any questions about any of it? Or is there something that you're curious about if WordPress does this or something like that?
I haven't seen the purple setting, subheading under the settings tab.
Gotcha. Are you using a WordPress.com site? That might be one of those things that's blocked under whether or not you have a free or paid version then. Cool. If there's no other questions, I think that's pretty much it. Does anyone have like a site that they're working on that they like want like feedback or troubleshooting on how to do something about, or are we all good? Yeah, nice. Are most people doing this for a class, or are you like trying to get like a portfolio or something like that? Uh, Portfolio? Yeah, both. Nice. With the themes, if you go here and you click add new, let me actually see if I can log into a WordPress.com site because I think a couple of you are on that. Okay. So under the themes, they'll have these, you likely already saw it, but they had these kind of categories for themes, and you can click portfolio and see the ones that they would suggest for one of those. Some of these I've like tried using before. Like this one's like something I was like, oh, that's a cool color scheme. I think like the pink one and the yellow is locked behind an upgrade. You're gonna find that a lot with the free WordPress.com site is you're gonna be like, oh, that's really cool. I want to do this. And then they're like, pay us to do this, which is really helpful. But they give you some options based on the specific kind of reason that you're trying to build a website, which helps. If you are ever like working through your WordPress site, always feel free to come to the help desk here at the Digital Lounge. I work here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So I'm available. We also have a bunch of student workers up there at the help desk who know WordPress as well. Some other things that I will show you. If you are going to use a hosted WordPress site, learn.wordpress.org is the place that you can go to view a bunch of tutorials on how to do specific things with the hosted WordPress side of things. If you're WordPress.com, it's wordpress.com/support. So this one has a bunch of stuff and guides of, how to set the homepage and changing fonts. So if you want to really learn about WordPress.com and the ins and outs of it, this would be a good place to start. Another thing, just specific to fonts, because that came up. You can search up web safe fonts. Basically these are fonts are dependent upon the browser, and they're even dependent on your machine. So if you've had both like a PC and a Mac, you may have noticed that the default theme is different, and some themes are available on Mac and not on PC. So web safe fonts right here are ones that are going to be on most browsers and most machines. So if you want to really design your site and make sure that everyone's getting the same experience, the web safe font would be the way to go. And another cool thing that I'll show you is as Annenberg students, you get access to the Adobe Creative Cloud. One of those things is Adobe Color. So if you go color.adobe.com, I like using this a lot. It's not specific to web stuff, but if you're going to do any designing, you can change the color scheme, and then you can play around with, color schemes that they suggest. This triangle is going to be your base color. So you can play around with different color schemes. If you're going to be designing stuff in Adobe, you can save the theme to your library. And then when you open Photoshop or Illustrator, all you got to do is go to the libraries window, and then you can import this specific theme to your document and your swatches. The accessibility tool is also really nice. If you want to play around with making sure that your designs in your website is accessible, this is a good tool. Basically, this is saying that it is not for me. You see this little thing. I believe it is like 4, or over here it's actually 5 and above. So it's just basically making sure that if you're doing a dark background, don't use dark text. If you're going to do a light background, don't use light text. And this is saying that it's not distinguishable enough, at least over here, for regular text. It also has these extract themes and extract gradients stuff. You can upload an image to extract theme, and it'll give you a color theme based on that image. So if you're browsing the web and you're like, hey, that's a really beautiful picture, I love those colors, you can import it here and it'll give you those exact color codes so that you could use those. Cool. Any other questions or thoughts or anything? Cool. So that's all from me. We still got like 45 minutes left in this workshop. So if you want to stick around and ask any questions or run through something with me, feel free. But if not, go ahead and go.